Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's TIA live stream, Freight Leadership in Focus. We have our guests, Chris Burroughs and Rob Kemp, on leading in 2026. We are very excited to bring you this event today. My name is Anthony, and I am the Senior Education Manager here at TIA. We just have a few housekeeping items to get through, and then we will kick everything off. Again, thank you for attending this live stream. And first off, with the antitrust statement, discussion, comments, and presentations during TIA functions must not refer to any past, present, or future rates, prices, or anything related thereto, include any reference to marketing strategies, include any discussion of boycotts of any person, product, or firm, or inhibit any members' employees from discussing employment with other member companies. Additionally, things you hear during the meeting that are confidential and private to TIA should not be shared publicly without its prior consent or used against or in competition with TIA. Next up, for questions during the webinar, we have some options for you to choose from. If you are watching this on LinkedIn, feel free to put your comment where you see fit right under the event where you're watching this, and the same goes for YouTube. If you're not comfortable submitting your question in either of those places, feel free to use the ticker instructions at the bottom of this banner and send your email to education@tianet.org with the subject live stream. And we'd be happy to answer your question when we get into the Q&A portion of the event later on in the live stream. Additionally, we hope that you have been paying attention to the TIA live streams we have coming up this year. We have another one in a few days and a lot more continued out this month and throughout the year. So please stay tuned to wherever you found out about this live stream. And if you have any questions about other TIA education resources or how to become a TIA member or just get more involved, feel free to put that in the comments as well or include that in your email over to TIA Education. With that, we're going to start out with a brief introduction from each of our speakers. Chris, we'll start with you, please.
Sure. Thanks, Anthony, and good afternoon, everyone. Chris Burroughs, President and CEO of TIA. Been in the role of President and CEO for a little over a year, but so newer to the role, not new to TIA. Been with the organization almost 15 years at this point. Bulk of that time obviously spent doing government affairs and advocacy work for the association and kind of being the voice on Capitol Hill and with federal agencies for TIA members. So really excited about this topic. Glad to have I'll let him introduce himself, but our chairman of our board of directors on the call with us. And kind of a fun fact between Rob and I is we were actually both born on March 12th. Rob a couple of years before me, but both March 12th. So there's our fun fact, Anthony. So Rob.
Thanks, Chris. Afternoon, everybody. Thanks for getting on today. I'm Rob Kemp, President and CEO of DRT Transportation. Founded DRT in 2007. Been a member of TIA since 2009, and shortly thereafter got involved in some of the committees and really enjoyed the political action and things there. It's really sometimes frustrating, but important to get on the Hill. And Chris and I kind of really got together as that was his job at the TIA when I first joined. So a lot of good stuff going on the Hill. We're really digging into a lot of the topics that are relevant today and what's going on. And I think we're seeing some action on the Hill for the first time in a long time on a lot of these issues. So Anthony, thanks a lot. Glad to be on.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Chris. We appreciate it. And again, thank you everyone for attending today. Please get your questions ready if you have any, and if not, be thinking of some throughout the presentation. So Chris and Rob, we're going to start with the big picture here. We wanted to host this webinar just because, of all the changes in freight right now, and especially freight leadership, and all the changes going into 2026 after we closed out 2025. So I'll ask this to the both of you right now. From your vantage point, what feels different about leadership in freight today compared to just a few years ago?
Well, that's a great question, Anthony. And obviously, I think we could all understand that our industry was very under-teched for a long time. And, we were really slow in coming up on kind of the tech. And today we're not over-teched, but we got lots of tech. So, understanding what stacks work for your company and understanding what they do is important right now. And with AI developing, I mean, I remember, with my BlackBerry a long time ago, the first iPhone, and how fast we've come since the iPhone. It's not been that long. And we look at AI and what's next. I mean, it's happening quick. So, I think the difference in leadership today, you have to be a lot more really wanting to change and being on front of change, because it changes without you. Whether you decide you want to do it or not, it's going to keep moving. So the tech around the industry today has really created a lot of leadership challenges on, what tech should I pick? I mean, I struggle with my streaming services. Which one should I have? There's so many. How many do the same thing? And it's the same in the tech in our industry. Which tech should I buy? What does the same things? Where's the overlap, and how can I benefit my business? And then obviously keeping an eye on AI. AI is growing weekly. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. Thanks, Chris. March 12th, a lot longer than you. I've been on this earth. But at the end of the day, I never thought we'd be in this space with AI, and I'm learning every day, around it. I've surrounded myself with some good people that understand it, and man, is it taken off, and it's effective. It is, using the right AI. So I think leadership is important to keep your eye on, constantly changing and not being afraid to change with what's going on.
Yeah, Anthony, I would just kind of add, in the same vein of technology, I think, kind of navigating the rough waters that the industry is, potentially facing, kind of depending on what, niche you're in. Economic times may be difficult right now. We hear from a variety of members, some are doing well, some are struggling with tariffs and other issues that are kind of going on in terms of a macroeconomic situation in the U.S. But again, just really driving that leadership to navigate the difficult times. I mean, like I said, I've been with the association almost 15 years. We certainly have seen this with the housing market in 2008. We saw a little bit in 12 and 13. Our membership is a very resilient group. They're going to get through this. They're going to come out of the other side stronger. But really looking at technology, looking at those macroeconomic pictures like Rob talked about is extremely important for your business, and obviously something as well for us as an association. TIA has been a leader in terms of educating the industry for a number of years. And just recently, we rolled out an AI bot and coach for all of our courses. So we're looking at technology too, in terms of increasing what we're doing as a trade association, again, to drive value back to our membership.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate those answers. And it looks like we are getting a comment in there. Thank you, Sean. We appreciate it. And everyone else, we appreciate your comments to follow. On to the next question. As we look forward to 2026 and throughout 2026, what challenges are top of mind for brokerage leaders?
Well, I mean, obviously, setting up your stack, like I said, is top of mind, right? Because I mean, again, right now we're sending thousands and thousands of emails every day through AI. So there's been a lot of changes, that are involved in that, and getting people used to managing that, the challenges of that. And again, I think generationally speaking, right, I think every new generation has a different appreciation for communication and the way to communicate. And I think that our businesses, again, if you go back to deregulation in 1980, how things were done, I mean, go back to lease tripping back before 1980, how things were done, and look how things are done today. So, I mean, I think at the end of the day, back to the previous point a little bit, is you have to constantly be changing, and you have to constantly be looking for the best way to communicate with your customers, communicate with your employees. But at the end of the day, adding value is still relationship driven, right? It doesn't matter how much tech you have. There still has to be that personal touch that makes sense, and that personal touch that the customers appreciate. So while they all want tools and they don't want to talk to you and they want to go real quick and they want to go real fast, at the end of the day, there's still some value in having a relationship and being able to use it.
Yeah, I would say if we're looking at 2026 in terms of challenges, probably, from an association perspective, not too different from what we faced in 25 and a couple of years before that as well. And something that the industry has been talking about for a number of years. It's one of the first pieces of legislation I worked on when I joined TIA back in 2012 was the Fighting Fraud and Transportation Act. What we're seeing in terms of cargo theft and strategic theft is just massive. Massive scale, massive impact to our members. Kudos to Rob and our Vice Chairman, Lynn Gravely, who traveled into Washington, D.C. Last week. We met with leadership from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration about cargo theft, about strategic theft, what we're seeing that our members are reporting to us, the impact, what we're doing as an industry, the great work that a lot of our associate members are doing kind of on the tech space, the programs and carrier selection processes that our members are putting in place to weed out some of this fraud, to combat it, and also talking with the FMCSA about, hey, these are the things that we need you guys to do right now. And some short-term goals to some medium, long-term goals that the agency could do to address this. We all know the federal government can and does oftentimes move at a glacial speed on a lot of this stuff, but there are some things that they can do now. And we were proud as leaders of this industry to go into the offices of Department of Transportation and share that message with them. And I think it resonated extremely well with them. I've said this on a couple of different programs, and I truly mean it. I'm not somebody that's going to say something like this, but I think Derek Bars, who is the FMCSA administrator, truly is the right guy at the right time. He comes from a law enforcement background down in Florida. But the first time I met, Derek on a Zoom call when he was going through the nomination process, he's like, if you don't make cargo theft a priority within your police department, the local, or whatever the case may be, then the sheriff's not going to pick it up. The state's not going to pay attention to it. So you got to make it a priority. And that really resonated that, hey, this is a guy that's going to come in here. He's going to get some things done. He's going to address this problem. Doesn't want to just sit in a meeting with us in Washington, D.C. and be a lot of talk. This is a guy that wants to see action happen. And that's true leadership from the FMCSA. And we're happy to have those conversations going forward.
And Chris, a little more on that. I mean, I think that was the best part of the last meeting we've had. We've met with the FMC over multiple administrations, multiple times. And I think this administration seems the hungriest to try to engage. And I think what was encouraging about our meeting, as we brought up the many things that we have uncovered and learned through our process of trying to define this fraud and work on it, is they're in tune too. They are kind of on the same page as we are. And I think that was encouraging to hear that. And I agree with you, Derek Bars I think maybe the law enforcement background, he's looking at this as a little more urgent and immediate task. And I think there could be some quicker help for the association and for our members, with some of the things coming down the pike here. So it was very encouraging after all the meetings that we have had that have been a little bit frustrating, that I think we're headed in the right direction here from that agency.
Yeah, and we're going to continue to lead from the association side. We were one of the first groups to put a task force out there. We had the combating fraud framework many years ago. We're going to continue to do that with our collaboration with the FBI, which Rob has been integral a part of. Going to Philadelphia with me to meet with them. They want as much information as possible that we can share with them, and we've opened up that channel to share data and incidents with them, all for the greater good. We've got to work together. This impacts everybody in the supply chain. This is impacts shippers, impacts trucking companies, brokerages, and ultimately consumers. We're all paying the pinch of going to the grocery store and paying higher prices because of this massive amount of cargo theft and fraud that's going on in the marketplace.
Thanks, Chris. And everyone, if you need information on the hotline, the email, or the number, just feel free to comment and we will point you in the right direction. That's a great segue into our next question. And Chris, you mentioned in your first answer, or in response to the first question, about TIA members being resilient. So this question, where are you seeing resilience show up across the industry?
Yeah, I think we're seeing in a variety of ways, and Rob, feel free to chime in here, obviously, at any point. But just looking at the cargo theft, example, let's take a look at that. As this is a massive problem that's going on. This is not kind of your mom and pop, criminals out there who may have gotten a hold of a particular product, or I'll never forget. I think it was about 15 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. There was this truck going through my neighborhood with furniture selling out of the back of it. I didn't think of it at the time. I may have thought it was a little weird that there's a furniture outlet who's bringing a truck through a neighborhood trying to sell it, but clearly the freight was stolen. At that point in time, you didn't think about it. But now it's really become this well-organized criminal element, a lot of which is based overseas. And we're seeing a really, resilient industry in terms of our membership of this is, our shipper customers are trusting us, our members, to facilitate the movement of their freight, safely and efficiently from point A to point B. And, companies are stepping up through technology, through other different verticals, taking a resilient stance of, hey, we've got to up what we're doing from our end to continue. This is a reputational. Rob and I say all the time, this is probably the biggest issue that's facing our industry and has been for quite a long time, from a reputational perspective, from a financial perspective. So we've got to continue to innovate, and we've seen that with our members through our task force and just general membership is the stuff they're coming up with to combat this is massive. And we're a resilient group, and obviously during the COVID pandemic, when there was all the supply chain disruptions and the port disruptions, our membership was resilient through that and came up with some creative ways of dealing with that, and they're doing the same thing with cargo theft now.
It's interesting, Chris. When I found the association in 2009, one of the reasons I came looking for the association was we had a cargo theft. So we opened our freight brokerage. I've been a lifelong trucking guy, LTL guy, asset guy. Decided how hard can it be to open a brokerage, right? Let's start doing that. And so we opened one in 2007. 4 months later, we had a load stolen. Fraudulent insurance, it's broke down. I can't get a hold of the driver, all the things that you still hear today. And the load ended up being stolen. And, we got very fortunate and found the load and recovered the load and got it delivered maybe a day late. The customer really didn't have any idea yet at that time that the load had been stolen, but we realized what we didn't know. And we went out to look for some help on going out there, and we found the TIA. And again, I think part of that resiliency, Chris, that people like to talk about with TIA members is just the members themselves and the camaraderie and benchmarking that we all do. When I found the association, I couldn't believe an association that, other leaders would talk to me about their problems, generically, and what are they doing to solve them, and what products are the best to be used, and what successes are they having. I remember the first session I ever attended, Brian Evans ran, and afterwards I talked to him a little bit, and he was so open with me and really helped me, understand the industry a little bit better. And there's been some great mentorship that I've gotten through the past leaders, Brian Evans and Chip Smith and Alec Gizzy, to name a few, right? I came up alongside those guys and learned the business from those guys. So I think part of the resiliency in this business is we have each other to lean on here a little bit. It isn't like you're on your own. When you run a business sometimes, or you own a business, you have to make a hard decision and you turn around for help and there's nowhere to look. You're just looking in the mirror. I feel like our industry, with all the things the TIA is doing, really gives you a village to help you run your business with all the tools and products that we have. And again, great commercial for the TIA, right? But I could tell you in my business, it's legitimate. And that kind of got me involved in helping and getting involved in committees and boards going up, because I felt like the TIA helped me run a better business, and I wanted to be involved in that going forward. So I think, I think our members are way more creative on problem solving things when things happen, and that benchmarking that we do together really helps us really solve customer problems better than a lot of other people do. Thanks, Anthony.
Great point.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Chris. And moving on a little bit now, Chris, this question is for you. And it's a great segue again. How is TIA thinking about leadership as part of its mission to serve members?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big proponent, I think, because my background, we're working on Capitol Hill, working for a lobbying firm. In high school, I worked at a golf course for many years, and kind of really built that customer service kind of background on who I am as a person. But I'm a huge fan of servant leadership, and that's what we do at TIA. We want associations exist like TIA to serve our membership, and the profession and the community of the 3PL folks that are out there. So we as an association have that mindset that everything we're doing is driven towards the sole fact of serving our membership. So you'll see that from not only what we're doing on Capitol Hill from an advocacy perspective, but we're doing through education, networking, meetings, just the core work that we do. Everything is from a servant leadership mindset to drive value back to membership.
Thank you, Chris. Next question is for the both of you all. But Rob, if you'd like to start, what is TIA building or prioritizing to help brokerages prepare for the future?
Well, that's a good question, Anthony. I mean, we have a lot of products in the pipeline right now, a lot of new things. And I mean, a lot of it, right now, currently, the fraud and cargo theft is front of mind, right? So the hotline that we just put out, I guess I for one am amazed with the amount of responses we've gotten to the hotline. I mean, Chris can ring in on this a little bit, but just mid-December before the holidays, I mean, we received calls on 25 different thefts, probably what, Chris, $6 million in items stolen in 2 weeks since we opened the hotline. So I think this is a bigger issue for our members than we even maybe could imagine, right? Because it's been endless. So I think that the resources that we've put in here have been really helpful to the membership. So, I mean, that has been something that's been eye-opening. I mean, we knew this was a big problem, but to see it in reality on paper, right? As it comes through the association, when people call on the hotline on incidences, and that's something too it's kind of hard. Do you want to open your company up to say, yeah, I had a load stolen? Do you want to be that guy? I mean, it takes a lot of courage to be able to do that because there might be a stigma around it, but there's not. I mean, everybody's getting loads stolen, and if you hadn't, good for you, because a lot of people have had things happen. But I think that's the tools that the association are putting through, and again, getting off the fraud, but in the market report and all the things that we do, give analytics to companies on benchmarking, right? Best practices, ethics. What's the best way? It's hard when you're dealing with carriers and people do different things, and what's the right thing to do, right? What's the best thing to do? And I think that's what's good about the TIA membership is they can give you some guidelines there, whether you're a $1 million broker or a $500 million broker. We all have different needs, but at the end of the day, the association can serve everybody the same way.
Yeah, Rob touched on a lot of great things there. We just highlight again what we're doing on cargo theft, strategic theft is massively important. Making sure that there's a future for brokers in this space, because this is such a big issue. Market report is massive. Check out the LinkedIn live session that Mr. Donald Broughton did a week or two ago about the market report. We made that a member benefit in 2025 because of the value of it. It's important that members go in there and take a look at what's going on from an economic perspective. And that report's only going to get better. We're going to put more data in there. We're going to put different data in there. Again, driving value back to members from an economic perspective. And I'd say kind of to close it out for this question is meetings as well, where we're taking a complete look at what we're doing from a conference and capital ideas perspective, looking at the program to make sure that it's not getting stale, and that we're driving value back to members through our educational sessions and through our networking events. These are great opportunities, like Rob said, to come meet your peers who will not only be potential lifelong friends for you, but also great advocates and can provide great assistance to you in your own business, just helping each other out and working together. Rob, you brought up Brian Evans. He was one of the first people I met as well. And I think we need to call him Speaker Evans at this point, because he's
Speaker Evans. That's correct.
The Arkansas government there. But it's a great organization. I'm proud to lead it, and appreciate the 15 years truly that I've had to make such great connections with the members.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris. And just a reminder, everyone, as Chris mentioned, when you do want to come back and review this recording or any prior LinkedIn live streams or YouTube sessions, you can just come back to where you're watching this now, as the recording will populate right there. You can, again, ask any questions you might think of after the live event, and we will try to get back to you as soon as possible. But thank you. And just as a reminder, keep those questions coming. Any comments, anything you'd like us to touch on or hear more on, please let us know, and we would be happy to do so. Rob, from a board perspective, how do you think about long-term leadership and stewardship of the association?
Absolutely. Thanks, Anthony. Being involved in the board for a while. I mean, I think, Chris, our changes recently in term is going to be helpful, because I think we need people to be involved, right? I mean, I didn't think I was qualified to be involved, and I wasn't sure that I should be involved. And I think I learned a lot by getting on a committee, and I learned a lot by just listening there. And then when I was asked to do more, it seemed a little bit easier. But, I think what I've learned, and, people in front of me and people that are going to come through the chairs behind me, we've all had such a great common mindset. And I don't know if that's like thoughts get together, and that's why we're members of TIA. But I can tell you that on almost every issue that we work on, we all vote unanimously. I mean, there's rarely another side to the issues, and I think that speaks to the like-minded business owners and people running companies that are members of the TIA. But I think, if you think you can't be involved or shouldn't be involved, don't think that. I mean, you're going to learn a lot about our industry, and I think that our board, the camaraderie that we've built on the board over the years, and I can see it in the relationships that people are in committees behind us. I mean, different generations from us. I mean, I learned it, like I said, from the guys that were before me, Dougie Clark and all those crews. I mean, I learned a lot, and just building those relationships. So I think the one thing we always talk about though on the board is what's the best for the TIA, right? I mean, we have dues and we have products, and like spending the money that we spend in our budget for this fraud. What's the best use of our members' money to move our members forward? What's the best use of our members' money on the Hill to get things passed, right? What's the best use for what we do in the association to forward our businesses and the membership? And that's a commonality that we've always had, and that's a commonality that we live by. And I think that's really helped us move the association forward. I mean, when I joined in 2009, we had 1,000 members. So now there's 2,000 members, right? So, I mean, I can't even believe it, that we've doubled in size. And, and again, every segment of the business, we really cover through the TIA. So I think as far as the board goes, I think good stewardship comes with like ideas. And I think our executive committee and the board, we have a lot of shared common ideas, and it helps us operate in the best way possible, which is what is the best for our membership. And that's what we always think about.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. We're going to move on to our next few questions before we then shift into Q&A. And these questions are for the both of you all. What separates effective brokerage leaders from those who struggle in tough markets?
Well, I mean, I could start that one, Chris. I mean, obviously we're in a tough market, and it's been a long-standing tough market. And I think, diversity is important in surviving tough markets. I mean, I think one of the things that we've always done at our company is we've tried to be a diverse company with customers, right? Not specializing in one segment of business, right? Trying to do multiple segments of business, because the economy, while the economy isn't great right now, there's certain areas of the economy that are doing great, right? Depends on what you're in. So I mean, if you're siloed into one piece of business or another, I mean, you could feel that when there's been this massive recession and pullback like it is now. I mean, there'll come a day when inventories will have to be stocked again. There'll come a day where the trucking companies will be the proper amount of trucking companies out there for moving the freight, and things are going to stabilize, and it's going to be hard again the other way. But right now it's hard because of the economy. And I think one of the things that's helpful is having a diverse portfolio, for sure. And being able to ride out, while one customer does a little better than the other, the average is sustainable. And then you have to be, again, go back to technology, using technology to stay nimble. You have to build a business that can be nimble and can react quickly, right? I mean, as freight brokers, we don't own assets. Assets are hard. Assets are hard to divest from. It's hard to, scale up and down on hard assets. Well, in the third party world, we're more non-asset driven. You have to be willing and able to scale up and down when the time's appropriate. So some of that is obviously personal choice, and when you pull the trigger and decide to do that. But I think for us, the main thing that we really look at is we haul a lot of different segments of freight in the industry, and that gives us some stability even in down times.
Yeah, I would just add, this is going to seem kind of simple, but it's relationships for me. Not only building strong relationships with your shipper customers, but also with your motor carrier customers as well. We even practice this within TIA ourselves. We've made it a priority to build a further stronger relationship with organizations like ATA and OIDA. And, Rob and I traveled out. We did a lot of traveling, Rob. Rob and I traveled out to Kansas City, met with the leadership of OIDA, Louis Pugh and Todd Spencer. And, that's an important constituency for us, obviously. The owner-operator groups, they're a huge part of what we do, and we're a huge part of what they do. And just building those relationships with your carriers is important. Just in anything you do, from a government affairs advocacy perspective, if you build a relationship with your member of Congress or staff person where there's a time of need, or you need somebody to reach out, hey, I need you to weigh in on this piece of legislation. We got to get this bill killed or move forward. You have that relationship already baked in, and so I would just urge people that are thinking about that. Obviously, I think people heavily focus on kind of the shipper customer side of things, but don't forget the carriers. They're equally as important.
Chris, that's a good point. That I think we're in the best place right now at TIA with a coalition better than we've ever been before, right? And I think we find that we're not siloed associations, right? We have lots in common. TIA and OIDA, are we peanut butter and jelly, right? We really are, because they run a lot of small trucking companies and we load those trucking companies. So I think we found out, visiting them a little more in depth, getting to know them a little bit more, they have a lot of the same concerns we do. So it makes us a little more powerful when we talk to Washington, when we're together on things, obviously the things that we can agree on. And that's super important. And I think we're in the best space we've ever been with those coalitions now. And again, we are all fighting a common problem right now in this fraud and cargo theft. So it's easy to get together on that kind of stuff, because it's affecting all of us the same. But I think great job, Chris, there too. On our coalitions are as strong as they've ever been. So appreciate that.
Yeah, so I remember when I took the role of CEO, somebody said on one of the social media posts, they were like, hey, we're really worried about this. Chris is an anti-truck person. And I don't know, quite frankly, where they got that from. I've always had an amazing government relations advocacy working relationship with OIDA. And again, we don't never agree on every issue there, but I would say 99 or 98% of issues, we're in lockstep with those folks. And I consider their lobbying team and Louis very good personal friends of mine, known them for many years. So yes, I may be running the brokerage 3PL association, but at TIA we're pro truck 100%.
Thank you, Chris and Rob. Just a few more questions here. How should leaders think about decision making when the pressure is on, especially at a time like now?
Well, if I could bottle an answer to that wouldn't be so hard, right? Because every situation is different. So, and again, depends on where the leadership is coming from. Are you leading from a middle management in a company? Are you leading from a top of a company? The bottom line is you got to have everybody pulling for the same goal, right? We have a strategic plan, and what is our strategic plan, and what decisions at our business make sense within that strategic plan, and are we leading, internally and from my level to accomplish that? So I think the bottom line is you got to have a plan. It starts with that, right? You can't just show up one day and say, oh, we're going to try this or try that. So you need to have a good plan. That's how you get through bad times, right? Listen, when the tide's in and there's no rocks and things are well, it's a lot easier. It's the hard times when the tide is out and you can see all the rocks. That what have I done to manage our company around this situation? So at the end of the day, I think have a strong strategic plan, have a strong plan, follow it, and then make sure top down your leadership is encouraging your managers and your leaders to follow that plan and to execute. That's just the best thing for us.
Yeah, agree. Great answer.
Thanks, Rob. On to the next. Where does communication break down most often, and how can leaders improve? Chris, you want to take that one?
No.
Yeah. Rob, you say something?
No, I'm just teasing you. We both were holding on for a minute. Who wants to tackle that one?
Yeah, I think kind of Rob pretty much summed it up with this last. This is very kind of similar to the last one in terms of being an effective leader in a struggling market. Is you got to communicate. There's got to be communication across the board within your organization. like Rob said, making sure everyone is kind of rowing in the same direction, but also communicating out with your customers, shipper and trucking company, like I mentioned earlier. When the communication stops, bad things tend to happen. So share communications, be transparent where you can, and work across those. No silos, break those silos down. We say that a lot here at TIA. No silos allowed in TIA. So just be an effective communicator, helps everybody.
Yeah, we kind of talk about delivering the news, right? I mean, I think the hardest part, for some people is, delivering bad news. And I think what we try to break it down with our customers and even in our internal stakeholders, it's just news. The person that gets it determines if it's good or bad, right? So we just want to make sure we're communicating properly. So what's happening with the shipper, what's happening internally, let's communicate. Might not be great news, it might be good news. That's something that's hard to control, but don't be afraid to communicate. That's the first step. You got to be able to have that open line of communication across your customer and across your company.
Thank you both. Appreciate it. And that brings us to Q&A, and looking at the comments we've seen some good ones, but just as a final reminder, everyone, if you do have any questions or comments, please send them in now. And again, if you think of them after the event concludes today, just feel free to go back to this recording and submit your question in the comments section there. We had one comment, I believe, Rob, in response to one of your answers earlier, getting folks to adopt the tech stacks and make their jobs easier, but they still want to email for quotes and bookings is one of their biggest challenges, it seems.
Well, again, a lot of this tech stack stuff that we're doing is kind of new. So, right, is everybody in the organization ready to implement? And, what's the training behind it, right? I mean, it is easy to just email. I mean, listen, back in my day, I just wanted to pick up the phone. I mean, I didn't know what an email was. I didn't know what a text was, right? If somebody had a question, I wanted to talk to them, right? We don't talk to anybody anymore. So, I mean, that's where the technology has changed. But I think, training, and again, let's go back to the strategic plan a little bit of your company. How do you want to get rates to the customer? What have you determined the best practice for you to communicate with your customer? And if it's through tech, then training has to be there. I mean, listen, someone that isn't executing at the level you want, there's only a few reasons why, right? They either need retraining, or they're overwhelmed, or they're not getting it. Those are easier to identify, and they're all easy to solve if you know where the people are. So I think picking how you want to execute along that line, supporting it, being committed to it, and then training. Just a lot of training. I mean, and listen, I know that's probably, if I had a wish at my own company, it'd be better training, right? I mean, for our people. I think that's a pretty common issue. And if it's not, let me know who you are. I'd love to learn from you. But training, and especially new employees, is always a challenge. So I would just say, every customer also, what do they want? You have to understand their wants. Some don't want an email rate. Some don't want technology answering them. I mean, some don't know the difference or care, right? If I send an email back with a price on AI, does someone know that wasn't really a person sending a price back? Maybe it was. So I think pick the way you want to communicate, pick the way your customers want you to communicate, and train on that and execute.
Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it. There's some more discussion about going after strategic cargo theft in the industry and the country, but it doesn't look like there are any specific leadership questions. Chris Arredondo, thank you for your comments, sir. We appreciate that. And again, last call for any questions or comments that you'd like Chris and Rob to address. But Chris Arredondo mentioned and touched on a little bit of, Rob, what you iterated on is about embedding rules before humans get involved is always a good thing, but the mind shift has to go beyond a phone and just a load board, touching on a little bit what you mentioned. Just as we shift to wrapping up, do you all have any advice you would give an emerging leader in a brokerage right now as they're maybe setting their course for the rest of 2026 and even looking beyond 2026 for the next few years, and trying to think about what they can anticipate?
Well, I would say collaborate, right? I mean, I think, I'm always challenging my people to what's your Rolodex look like, right? How are you building your Rolodex? Because, you're two eyes and one brain. And, I mean, I rely on other people all the time. Friends that I've built in this industry, outside this industry, in adjacent industries to us. I have a pretty good Rolodex of help because I don't know everything. And it's important to go out there and get opinion. So I think stay open-minded and rely on your friends and rely on your partners and rely on information to help you make the best decisions. And again, set your mission and what's best for you. Everybody's companies have what's best for them. It's different. It's not the same. That's what makes us all great in what we're doing. Everybody has their own secret sauce, right? But we all need help and we all need support and we all need mentorship. And I think if you don't have that, you should go find it. And I mean, again, commercial, Chris, but I've got a lot of that through the TIA, through the shows, through the committees, through, the political action events, through all that stuff. I mean, I've really built a good Rolodex of cross industry, not just in our industry. So I would say that the challenges are, pick your winner and go with it hard, but, use all the resources around you to make you a better company.
Yeah, I would say communications and collaboration as well. And as part of that is getting involved. I don't want to do a plug for, joining TIA, but as Rob's mentioned, his first kind of exposure to TIA is when they were dealing with the cargo theft. And, he was able to gain information from the organization, from his peers that really kind of saved his business. So get involved, every aspect of the industry. We're here to help. Get involved with your advocacy, member or not. Reach out to your member of Congress, build that relationship. I never forget one night I was sitting at home, I was having dinner with my family, and Rob called and he was like, "Hey, I just got a call from my member of Congress from the House floor wanting to know where TIA was on a particular piece of legislation." And that was done by Rob just building that relationship with that member of Congress. Getting involved with what we're doing in Washington, D.C., coming to the fly-in every year, having that member come visit their office. We're happy to help facilitate that site visit for you. These member of Congress, they want to build a relationship with you. You guys are constituents, that you're their voters. You're important to them. So get involved, be active.
And the future of the TIA is only as strong as the people and the members that they have. So, I mean, you have to be involved. If you're not a member of the TIA and you want to be a member of the TIA, I mean, we need, future leaders of the association to move it forward. So I think, getting involved with your own association is super important because that's going to get you a better benefit out of it. So appreciate it.
The great news is no matter what industry you're in, there's an association for literally everything. And then there's an association for associations. So
true that.
Thank you both, Chris and Rob, and thank you everyone for your comments. Chris Arredondo, thanks for your great feedback. He said, great panel, y'all. So we appreciate that. And just as a reminder, everyone, we do have a few upcoming leadership-focused LinkedIn Lives like this one later in the month, talking about ethics and decision-making, leadership foundations and communication, and leading for growth and coaching teams. So be sure to stay tuned and either follow LinkedIn, follow TI on LinkedIn where you are right now, or make sure you shoot us an email on how you can get more involved, as Chris just mentioned, whether that's on a committee, on speaking engagements, or anything like that. With that, we will close everything up and we will see you all next time, and we look forward to it. With that, Chris and Rob, we will sign everything off and look forward to seeing everyone next time. Appreciate your time, and thank you everyone for your attendance today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.